How are you guys doing today? Today, I want to talk to you guys about what to ask a debt collector before paying them. Who better to show you or to explain that to you than a person who was a debt collector for many years? So, if that's something that interests you, stay tuned.
My name is Jay, and welcome to Ask a Debt Collector, a subsidiary of Clear and Strategic. Now, I've been in the debt collection industry for over 15 years. Over the last 10 years, I've been the go-to guy for friends and family for questions regarding debt and credit. Now I want to be that person for you. If you have any questions, put them down in the comment section. I promise I'll answer those questions. Let's go.
Okay, so right before we get into that, there are a few tools, I'll call them, that I want to actually give you guys absolutely for free. The first thing is my webinar. On Thursday, I have a free webinar. If you want to learn how to eliminate 30 to 70% of your debt, down in the description, be sure to register for that. The second thing that I want to tell you guys about is our free letter bundle. Down in the description below, I'll give you a free goodwill letter, a cease and desist letter, a pay to delete letter, as well as a debt validation letter. This is to help you guys on your journey. Lastly, if your credit score is in the 4s, the 5s, or 6s, down below is a free 20-minute consultation with me. So let's get right into it. I've had in the comment section a bunch of times, and especially now that I see a lot in the comments because I'm listening to you guys, is what do I ask a debt collector? And so there are a few things that you need to ask a debt collector. But first, before you ask a debt collector, you get on the phone and you talk to them, you're going to want to do your research. You're going to want to, number one, do a Google search on the company. And I'm going to show you guys exactly how to do that right now. I'm going to use my old company. As you can see in my search history, it shows here, Barrett and Associates. Let's say whatever the name of the company that is calling you, whether you got a letter or you received mail in the mail, you got a letter in the mail, or maybe you got a message. For the most part, we'll say a message that you got. You want to vet and look up the company. So Barrett and Associates was the name of my old collection company, so I'm looking at that right now. It shows the information with regards to it. If you can see a picture, you can see some reviews, then you know it's good. One of the things I want to tell you guys is if you're seeing low reviews and those reviews are saying, like here, Cyrus Hunter, you're a scam, get with the program, people, stuff like that, you can't look at that as gospel with regards to the company. You want to make sure that they actually have a storefront. You want to see that there's actually a company with regards to that. Another thing is you might want to Google search the actual phone number that they called you from, right? As you're Googling those phone numbers, here, as you can see down here, it does bring up Barrett and Associates. A lot of times, and that's just because I haven't had the company for a while. I'm just using this as something to help you guys out with. But ultimately, one of the things you want to look for is you want to see the name of the company. You want to see, if they have a LinkedIn page, if they're with the Better Business Bureau. In this case, obviously, a lot of times you'll see the Better Business Bureau like this. They're not rated. They'll have some complaints or whatever the circumstance is. But this gives you an idea if it exists. If you go skip tracing, is what this is called. But if you go Google searching this information and nothing pops up, then, I'll be a little leery. It doesn't mean that the company's not legit, but I'll be a little leery. If you're reversing the phone number, as I did, and the phone number's not bringing up anything, a lot of times, a lot of these fly-by-night companies will use robot numbers, right? So that way when you go to Google search it, it'll come up and nothing will pop up. Some of these better companies will even have caller ID numbers that'll pop up that'll be in your actual area. But try and Google search the number and it'll get an idea of what it is. But don't go by the reviews again because the reviews don't mean anything. The next thing that I would tell you to do is to go to the Secretary of State. So you can Google Secretary of State in your state. And in this case, it's in California for myself. You want to go down and do a business search, business entities, I believe. Let me see here. And then you want to go down here and look at the business search. And over in the corner, you would click here and you will put the name of the business. Recovery Services. In this case, I looked up Barrett Asset Recovery Services because Barrett and Associates isn't the LLC, but that's the name of the company. And one of the things that you want to look for is, obviously it shows here, Barrett Asset Recovery Services. It shows the filing date was in 2009 and it is active. The status is active. If the status shows that it's not active, anything else suspended or anything along those lines, then you know the company is no good with regards to it. So those are two ways that you can vet and look up the company, and that's a quick way to actually search and figure out before actually talking to them.
This Thursday, I have a free webinar to teach you how to save 30 to 70% off of your debt. Don't forget to register down in the description or in the comment section. You guys be great.
Now that you've done your Google search, your reverse search on the phone number, and you've checked the Secretary of State in your area, now becomes the time to contact the collection agency, right? So one of the things you guys have to understand is when you call a debt collection company, you call them up, you cannot be defensive. They're going to need to verify some information with regards to you. The reason why is they need to vet that it's actually you calling in. A legit collection company cannot just disclose any information to anybody who's calling in and saying that they're who they are, right? It's just like a bank. If you called the bank right now, every single time you call the bank, they're going to have to verify that you are who you're saying you are, whether they're asking for the last four of your social, they're asking for your bank account number, something along those lines. They'll verify some information. Same thing with a collection company. When you call in, obviously you don't want to give them too much information, but you can, if they ask, your first and last name, give them your first and last name. They're going to ask maybe for the last four of your social security number to make sure it's the same. Because in these systems, your name may be Joe Smith and there's 100 Joe Smiths. But one of the things that are going to be different is the last four of your social. So they may ask for the last four of your social. Give them that information. Now, they may go even further with regards to asking if you're currently working, what's your current address. I wouldn't give them any place of employment information. And I would give a current address if it's not the one that they have on file, because you want to get any correspondence that they may be sending from that collection agency just in case they're looking at trying to sue you or anything along those lines. You don't want a default judgment or anything along those lines because you didn't get the correspondence. Typically, after verifying the information, they're going to go straight to trying to get you to pay. And you can't really get mad at that. That's their job as a collector. But before you pay, you want to say this. Hey, I'm not sure if this is my account. I have a few questions I want to ask you with regards to this account to verify, obviously, it's my account and some information about the account directly. And typically, if you're dealing with a professional, they're going to say, okay, what are the questions that you want? The first question you want to ask them is, ask them who is the original creditor. Now, for those of you who don't know what that means who is the person that you actually owe the account to. So if you had a Capital One credit card, then the original creditor should be Capital One, right? That lets you know as the consumer who you actually owe or who they're claiming that you actually owe. Make sure you write it down. I forgot to tell you guys, have a pen and paper to write this information down. Then you want to ask them for the original account number. There's two types of account numbers typically a debt collection company are going to have. They're going to have their reference number to the account, which is something where they can actually locate the account, and then the original account number, which is the account number that never changes. When you originally got whatever it was, if it was a credit card, let's say, we'll keep using Capital One. A Capital One credit card, the original account number will be that 16-digit credit card number. They'll give you that. If it's a loan, it's the original loan that you had that you originally, when you were approved for whatever that loan was. Write that down. Then next, you want to know what the total balance is showing that you owe. Ask them what the total balance is. They'll give you that. Write that down. Now, within that, you want to ask them what the principal balance is and then the interest that was added on there, right? It's always good to have both of those so you have an idea when it comes time to settling out that account. If in fact that's something you decide to do, write those down. So it should be three numbers. It should be the total balance, the principal balance, and any interest that is showing that is owed on the debt. The next thing that you want to ask them for is their current address to where they're at. Make sure you write that down and then ask them for an actual email address, right? And when you get that email address, you write that down. The next thing that I will ask them to, once you've gotten all that information, you wrote it down, quickly just ask, are you guys licensed to collect in my state? The reality is, a lot of times, as we all know, when a debt collection company contacts you, chances are they're not in the same state as you are. And if they state that they're licensed to collect in your state, just jot that down. Ask them what their name is, right? The first and last name, so you can actually have a note of who you actually spoke to. Now that you have all the information that you need with regards to the account, you tell them, okay, thank you for all of the information. I need to verify this information and make sure that this is actually my account. So I will give you guys a call back and let you know what my outcome is. A lot of times, debt collectors are going to be a little pushy. They're going to probably want a deadline. They're going to probably want a certain time that you're going to call back. And not only that, if you don't call them back, they're going to call you back with regards to the account. Now that you have a current address for them and an email address for them, and then obviously you have their phone number, one of the things I recommend is sending a debt validation letter. With a debt validation letter, it obviously asks for way more information with regards to the debt itself. It vets the company to see if they have a bill of sale and a bunch of other things with regards to that account. If you need a copy of a free debt validation letter, look in the description for my free letter bundle. All you have to do is plug in the information from the stuff that you gathered and those questions that you asked that debt collection company. You have that. There are two ways to send that debt validation letter. The first way that you can send it is certified mail. With that, you go down to your local post office, you pay $5 to $6 to send that letter. They'll give you a 16-digit tracking number. This way, you know when the actual debt collection company got that debt validation letter by tracking that number. The second way that I recommend that you possibly send it is through email. Once you fill out the information for the debt validation letter, you can obviously email it to the company. You'll have a direct email address, and then you can actually have proof that you sent the email. I don't recommend mailing it regular mail just because the debt collection company can state, we never received the letter, and you have no proof that you actually sent that letter. Now, these are the questions that you're supposed to ask a debt collection company when it comes to a debt that they're claiming that you actually owe. Cross your T's, dot your I's, and don't make the mistake of just blindly paying them. Now, if you have any questions, put them down in the comments section. I promise I'll answer those questions. And as I always state, you be great.